the things and shout outs. And then our special guest will join us in a little bit. So super excited on this thankful Thursday and very grateful to my good friend Steph Mays, who told me that it was National Tea Day. So we're going to talk about that today. Way back in the day, when I first started broadcasting, we used to do a lot of national days and I would read lots of fun facts and everything. So I thought I would revise that today and reprise that. Is that what you say? Reprise. When you bring something back, I'm going to bring it back. How about that? How about I just use the verbiage I know? Anyways, so welcome to National Tea Day. Are you a tea drinker or a coffee drinker? Good morning, Teresa. So glad that you are here. I'm actually a tea drinker because coffee does not like me. We won't go into details, but those of you who drink coffee, you totally understand. Teresa's a coffee person. That was going to be my first guess. And I am drinking one of my favorite green teas. So I love to sip on that and get my healthy on and enjoy tea either while I'm broadcasting or working on my quiet time or content creating, blog posting, all that kind of stuff. So I will share with you guys some facts about tea. I'm sure there's a National Coffee Day. Of course, in our culture, I think every day is National Coffee Day. I think. So let me just take a quick sip and then I will jump right into my short version of an intro and then the shout outs and several other things, celebration time. And then we will invite our special guest on and talk all things gratitude, grief, and the gift of friendship. So welcome. So glad that y'all are here. Mm. Wow, that is really, really good. Still nice and warm. So I'm Larissa Grateful Chick, Chief Inspirational Officer of the Grateful Tribe. I'll do a long intro in just a few minutes. One of the things I love to do is give shout outs to our Grateful Tribe sponsors, right? We have sponsors. We also have what we call charter members and also our 3+ year club members. So our sponsors, we are just super grateful for those who sponsor the ministry. So what that means is financially they give monthly. They decide how much they give monthly, and that goes towards me doing ministry, right? And so anything that costs me like gas when I go to events, especially when I'm speaking for free, also for workshop materials and prizes, mail, right? I just stuck something in the mail recently, so it pays for all of that. Good morning, Jana. So good to see you and just super blessed. So I like to give shout outs, but again, just remember this broadcast is free, right? There's lots of free stuff when it comes to the Grateful Tribe, right? Grateful Tribe is actually the ministry. Grateful Chick is the worker bee. The one who does the work, right? And so super grateful to get to actually I get to do the work, right? So anyway, so sponsors, we're so grateful to Louise and Melanie. I know Melanie will be popping on here any moment. Tessie, Teresa, who is here, Tasha, Justin, Marcy, Hannah, and Edward and Lynn. So thank you so much for supporting in that way, shape, or form, right? But also, hey, Cheryl, so good to see you. We're also blessed to be supported by engagement and people who show up, people who share out, people who love up on me off screen, right? Who send wonderful birthday gifts, who send great notes of encouragement, who send text messages, and all of those things, right? Super grateful. So, charter members, Coach Dale, Cheryl, Lipsy, who just popped in over there on Facebook, Steph, who I just referenced earlier, who's the one who told me it is National Tea Day, right? Allison, Dr. G, Cindy Myers, Marguerite, our resident Marine, Pastor Rick, Jason Wallace, Pastor Tommy, Lorenzo, Smitty, Beth Hoover, Minister Pam, and so many more. So thank you to the charter members. Basically, what that means is y'all have been around from almost the very beginning. Jana, you are not on one of these lists. Jana, you need to be on one of these lists. So we need to rectify that. It just dawned on me. Isn't that interesting how that kind of stuff just you're going along in life and then boom. So Jana, 3+ years or since the very beginning? We've been friends since way before Grateful Chick, I'll say even existed. I have always existed. I just didn't always have that name. But Jana, we need to know if I put you on charter members or if I put you on the 3+ year club. Definitely on the 3. Haps the beginning. Haps is the beginning? You've been watching my broadcast before that. I'm going to put you, Samson. No, sir. I'm putting you on the 3+ club membership or whatever. We'll talk more about that. So we won't have the discussion live, I guess, right? Because it seems like you've been a long time supporter. So Periscope, I came in and out, was watching Chip and Hope Day. So yeah, you are a charter member. You're a charter member. So yeah, you don't have to be consistent per se. Yeah, that's what I thought, Jana. I apologize for not having you on the list. Very, very sorry. Okay, we won't have you on both lists. We'll spread the love, right? Anyways, so the 3+ year club members are people who have been around, supporting, engaging, encouraging for 3+ years. So that would be Paula G, because I've only known her for a little over 4, right? Melanie, Chris, and Carol Ann, and Sage, and Cami, and Juan, and Kathleen, and Fidget. Oh my, right? We are so blessed. So thank you to all of you in whatever way, shape, or form. There is Juan coming in from Twitter. So glad that you are here. So glad that you are here. Oh my goodness, Juan Zooms. I do not do any extra Zooms these days, but thank you so much for the sweet offer. I did do a birthday Zoom last year, Juan. I don't know if you remember that, and I thought about doing one this year, but time just well, the whole month is not over yet, so I may still do a birthday Zoom. Who knows? But I've got company and all kinds of sort of fun things to do. So it may not happen. And that is okay. That is okay. You make lists and not everything always gets accomplished, even on like the bucket lists, right? So welcome, welcome. I'm Larissa, Grateful Chick, Chief Inspirational Officer of the Grateful Tribe. And as Jana has alluded to, I have had the blessing of broadcasting for almost 7 years, right? So this July 31st, it will be 7 solid years. Started out on Periscope and have transitioned over to Haps, and Haps is pushing this broadcast to Twitter Live, which is how Juan is viewing us. YouTube, so it could be Allison and her grandbaby, soon to be grandbabies, are watching over on YouTube, along with Jen Markson, and several others are holding down the fort over there. And it is pushing it out to my personal page. And then I'm also doing what we used to call dual broadcasting. So I have my iPad up and operating in our community page to my left. So this is why you're going to see me going back and forth. So good to see you. Good morning. I can do whatever I want for the whole month, right, Cheryl? Well, what she's saying is you can do a birthday month Zoom party for sure. Absolutely. So thank you for that reminder. So welcome, welcome. Grateful that you are joining us. So I believe the Lord called me almost 7 years ago to start broadcasting. And again, as Jana alluded to, we started with Hope and Chip, the original, right, the OG Bulldogs of the Grateful Tribe. And so we had Hope Scopes and then Chip Chronicles. And so you guys only saw their faces and heard my voice along with a short tip, less than 15 minutes, um, in the morning at 7:30 a.m. And then the Lord moved me into the 9 a.m. spot and opened up doors, connected me with amazing broadcasters and people that I met eyeball to eyeball. I've had the blessing of meeting almost 100, over 100, not almost, over 100 of you, plus the promise to get to meet more. And then that 15-minute broadcast turned into an hour. Our tribe has grown. We're super, super blessed. On our Facebook page that I'm live on right now is Grateful Tribe Doing Community Well. That is our heart, to do community well. And one way we do that is by cultivating gratitude every day and living out the truth that gratitude changes everything. So that is just a little bit about that. I also am a Marine widow and had the blessing of being a Marine spouse for almost 27 years, until this tough as nails Marine went home to be with Jesus in 2020, September 17th of 2020. So it just went over 19 months without him here on earth. And if you want to hear a little bit more about him and his testimony, I talked a little bit about it last night on last night's broadcast and then last week. But Bill said yes to Jesus on Easter Sunday, which happened to be April 7th in 1996. So that's where I get my security in knowing that he is spending eternity with Jesus, right? So super, super blessed. But I bring up my Tough as Nails Marine because I have the blessing, along with my guests, to have spent a good amount of time ministering and volunteering with an amazing group called Planting Roots. And I know somebody's going to type in plantingroots.net. They actually may still be live right now this morning doing prayer. Right, super blessed that they go live several days a week, have live events, and lots of great resources, a lot of which are free. Right. And so it is a ministry by military women for military women. So plantingroots.net is where you can go if you are associated to the military in any way, shape, or form. I also like to share during my introduction that we have a mascot. His name is Samson. He is almost 7 years old, right? He was born the same month I started broadcasting. You got to love that. And I bring him up because he's just cute. I mean, who doesn't love a mug like this, right? But also because he likes to make a lot of noise. He snores during the broadcast. And as you heard earlier, I just reprimanded him because he likes to lick his paws and cause. Thank you so much for putting in plantingroots.net. Thank you. I'm so grateful to you, brother. Um, he sometimes I have to chit chat with him during the broadcast. So I'm not talking to a 2-year-old boy. I'm talking to a almost, is he 6 or 7? Well, it'd have to be 7. Almost 7-year-old male, super stubborn bulldog. There's Melanie. So good to see you. And so I have the blessing of getting to broadcast. I broadcast Monday and Thursday mornings at 9:15 a.m. Right? I forgot that Central Standard Time. I forgot to finish that story. So we first started broadcasting at 7:30 a.m., then 9 a.m. So now we're at 9:15 a.m. Central Standard Time, where I share about Jesus. And you don't have to know and love Jesus, but that's what we talk about here, along with God and Holy Spirit, right? And then also where I share a positive message, and specifically we talk about cultivating gratitude, and I share the evidence from experience and other things that gratitude truly does change everything. So that is the introduction. So glad that you guys are here. Are you guys ready for our theme song? I am so grateful for Mark of South Jersey, who wrote and produced this song, and we are just blessed to have our very own theme song. So I am going to play that right now, and then we will start slowly rolling into other stuff. But we are going to celebrate National Tea Day. For those of you who are just hopping on, it's National Tea Day. So don't hate if you love coffee. I love the smell of coffee. You guys know one of my favorite treats is coffee, is chocolate covered, dark chocolate covered espresso beans, right? I love coffee. I love the smell, love the flavor of ice cream. It just does not like me, right? And that is that. So for those of you who are new, the volume is pretty loud. So if you have earbuds, I highly recommend you take the earbuds out. I don't see our earbud friend Paula yet. Of course, she could be here and just not saying hi yet. Kathleen is in the house. So good to see you, sweet sister. Kathleen's one of those ones that I've gotten to meet eyeball to eyeball twice. And we've known each other way before Grateful Chick had the title. I've always been, well, I don't know that I've always been Grateful Chick, but I've always been. And then I gave myself the title of Grateful Chick, and here we are so many years later, right? Okay, let me take a quick sip. Sorry, sip, sip. Mm. Sip, sip, hooray. Okay, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, it is low. Okay, let's kick it up a notch. One more. And just FYI, right? Kathleen, I know, so blessed. Hey, Tammy Anderson, so good to see you. So good to see you.
When you wake up, grab your coffee and phone, tune into Larissa, you're never alone. The Grateful Chick tribe is always by your side. Helpful tips, so you grab your pen. Larissa is on, so go tell a friend.
Right? Take some good notes, share out.
With a smile.
Why do we smile? Because it's Thankful Thursday. Because we are grateful. Because God is good.
Grateful Chick.
I just remembered Yvonne won't be on the broadcast with us this morning, but we're thinking about you, sis.
Yeah,
Perhaps we have a special guest. This is National Tea Day, right? Because God is good, right? We give our own theme song with a great big finish, right? Because we are so blessed in so many areas. So we play that theme song as often as we can, every opportunity that we can, because it reminds us, until further notice, celebrate everything, because there is always, always, always something to be grateful for. And we are grateful that you are joining us, that you are dancing to the coffee pot for your second or third or fifth cup of coffee or tea. right? And specifically today, we are celebrating National Tea Day. I will read some facts to you guys in just a minute, but also we want to know from y'all, are you celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, a sobriety date? Did you say yes to Jesus on Easter Sunday, or do you know of somebody? I know that there were lots of salvations here locally, which is super, super sweet, such a blessing. Not surprised, of course, because people go to church on Easter or, over Easter weekend. So it is a perfect time, right, to invite friends and pray for them and go to church with them, right? And especially because you guys know Bill's testimony, he said yes to Jesus on Easter back in 1996. Y'all, I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. So here we go. National Tea Day is April 21st, 2020. And I'm just going to read a couple little facts just for fun, and then we will move on, but would love to hear what you are celebrating. So, National Tea Day is more than simply a holiday, it's a movement providing opportunities for future generations of tea drinkers to understand and appreciate the world of tea. Founded in 2016. So, you guys know that national days are founded, and we could have our own national day if we wanted to pay for it. Which I think I'm still going to look into. Kathleen saying, my brother, my niece-in-law, his daughter-in-law have birthdays tomorrow. Happy birthday, Kathleen. We love it. We might enjoy a yummy dessert on their behalf today. So, founded in 2016, the date of April 21st was chosen because it's also Queen Elizabeth's birthday. I mean, could the day be any more British, right? It's relatively common knowledge that we have the Chinese to thank for tea. I don't know if you guys knew that, but it was actually a Portuguese woman named Catherine of Braganza who popularized the beverage in England. In 1662, Catherine married King Charles II. Her dowry included several crates of loose leaf tea, which she continued drinking every day in the UK. The royal court quickly adopted the tea drinking process, including aristocrats, right? While the goal of National Tea Day is to inspire the world to drink more tea and to drink it throughout the year, we can't help but immediately think of the famous British afternoon tea, right? Um, Tea can be both a drink and a meal. Who knew, right? And sorry about the glitch. It just glitched out for a quick second. And it's going again. I don't know why I'm struggling with my internet. I would say it rained last night, but it's not rain. It's my what do we call that? My sprinkler system, because it just got fixed. But anyways, so the Duchess of Bedford, Anna Russell, introduced afternoon tea during the late 1840s out of her hunger pains between the two daily meals at the time, which she shared with friends. Who knew that we only ate 2 meals a day? I'm more obsessed with that than the tea part, right? Many forms of tea exist around the world. Green tea is popular in countries such as China and Japan, which is what I have in my mug, whereas South Asian countries often prepare chai with spices boiled in both milk and water. And there is even a pink tea, so Paula would love to know this, commonly known as Kashmiri tea. I think that's Kashmiri tea served in many parts of the Himalayan regions of Pakistan and Afghanistan during the winter months at weddings. In the UK, the perfect British cuppa is what they call it, Cuppa, is usually served as a variety of black tea with boiling water and a little milk. And then here is the last of it. Henry James, author and nominee for a Nobel Prize in Literature, once said, and you will probably see this on a post today, there are few hours in life more agreeable than the hour dedicated to the ceremony known as afternoon tea. National Tea Day celebrates the world's second favorite drink. Did y'all know that? It's the second favorite drink only to water, so heavily stemmed in everyday culture, so each of us can learn and revel in its drinking experience. Is that not fun to know? I just love, love, love that. So tell me really quick in the chat boxes whether you're watching on Twitter or YouTube or Haps or either of the Facebook pages, tea or coffee. Just write tea or coffee, so I know who my people are. And of course, anybody who just likes to sip, sit, and celebrate are my people. I don't care what you're drinking, right? I don't care what you're drinking. I just happen to have tea. And just in case we forget that I'm drinking tea, I have the tea mug. I mean, it's brilliant, right? Someone bought this for me, so thank you to whoever bought this for me. I so appreciate it, with this blue inside. I love the ones that have color inside. All right, anybody else? Anybody else celebrating anything today? Love that we have birthdays tomorrow and this whole month, of course, tea and then sometimes coffee. Yeah. And I will drink coffee. I just don't drink it often. Right. But oh my gosh, the smell and those chocolate covered espresso beans are mighty, mighty yummy. Right? Super, super blessed. So anybody else? Cheryl, is my mom used to drink afternoon tea with milk in the afternoon with her English grandmother as a child, right? And I don't know. I want to say when we were in Okinawa, there was a British tea house, so we had to drive quite a distance to go to it. Really, really cool. They bought like an A-frame home out in the middle of nowhere. Opened up this tea shop, but I want to say the owner, who was very British, mentioned that you just do a spot of milk at the bottom so the tea doesn't stain your nice china. But I can't remember if he elaborated why is it just a spot because that's all they're doing is trying not to stain the cup, or it was just to kind of give it a little bit of creaminess. I'm not sure, but I didn't think I was going to like milk in my tea, and I like it. I don't do it with this because I'm trying to, keep the calories down. If I'm going to have calories, I'm going to eat them typically. Not that I'm calorie counting, of course. Chocolate covered anything is good. Am I right? Absolutely. Absolutely. You're right. So anybody else, before I move on and start introducing our special guest, you remember that now, and no clinking the spoon against the sides of the cup, right? Yeah, that was a no-no. He was pretty brutal with his opinions and statements and tea drinking tips. But the food was amazing. The ambiance was so fun. Yeah, save those calories for dessert, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys know my new favorite green tea is the one that Cheryl sent me. So I've been drinking like every other day because I don't want to use it all up. And Paula made it. Paula is in the house. You missed the theme song, sister. We even turned it down for you. So would it be to not overpower the flavor of tea? That could be it for sure. Do I add honey? I don't, unless I have local organic honey, and I'm trying to just stay away from that, but I love local organic honey. So our special guest has just arrived. I love it. She just saunters right on in here. So come on in, special guest. She picked the Grateful mug, of course, of course. So we are welcoming our sweet friend Ginger. Okay,
Hi,
so
friends.
we're back to doing the dual broadcast, and so it'll be a little wonky. But we've got Haps right here along with YouTube
Hey, Haps.
and Twitter Live and the personal Larissa Jaquare page. And then over here is the community page. So here we are. I know we're going to have to do this kind of thing, right? I know. So
I got my groove on. I can do that.
You can. You can. She's actually the one who helped me start enjoying life more and doing fun stuff. This one is uber fun. So no pressure.
No pressure at all. But you know what? I take that as one of the finest compliments I've ever received.
It totally is, because
I didn't do it on purpose.
No, you didn't. You're just you. You're just you. So Cheryl is saying hi over here.
Hi, Cheryl.
And of course, others here on all the other broadcasts. So we apologize for this because Haps has changed. So we don't have the sideways where we can get all of us. So you're going to have to see us kind of like attached.
Yeah,
like
it's a good thing we like each other. And I just did take a shower. So,
yay! Well,
the Texas heat is not causing olfactory issues.
We love that.
We're grateful for that.
We're so grateful for that. And Gianna is saying good morning
to you
good morning as well. So, okay, so here we are, and we are talking about National Tea Day. But
I am celebrating National Tea Day with a really grateful cup of coffee.
Which we absolutely love. And this is her second cup, right? So Kathleen, I don't know if you told us if you're on your second or your third cup, but just so fun to celebrate whatever we're drinking, right?
True.
And then did you know some of those? I don't know if you were hearing some of those facts, but tea is the second favorite drink, only to water. Tea over coffee.
I don't buy it.
So I'm wondering if they're encompassing like sweet Southern tea. Because then you drink that at lunch and dinner.
Oh well, yeah,
right?
That could. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will give way to the tea lovers. I will give way to the tea lovers because it's not like I hate tea.
Mm-mm.
I just like me coffee better.
And you know what? I like me coffee better too, but coffee doesn't like me. So, but I thought that was very interesting. And I'm going to share a quote later on. I had read it to everybody, but tea existed way back where I can't remember what the date was where tea came into existence. But anyways, super fun to have some facts about tea. But what we really just love to do is sit, sip, and celebrate. So whatever you're drinking.
I've
So
noticed that. I love that.
I know. We
I
love
love that.
love that. So today I decided on the title super late, like just this morning, because Ginger flew in, got in. Her flight was like 15 minutes early. Y'all, that is so unheard of right now. We are super grateful. So we are not complaining. And I was on time.
Best day of travel I've ever had.
Okay.
So, I'm going to totally derail you, but I just have to share this.
Yes, please do. Please do.
So I was able to go to work in the morning. My daughter had come for a surprise visit the night before.
What?
I was able to take a walk with her when I got back. I was able to pack. I was able
because you didn't get on a plane till like 4 p.m.
I had a straight through flight from DC to San Antonio at 5:45 in the afternoon. So I had the full day at home. Got here at 8:30. Still had plenty of time to catch up and chit chat.
Right.
And it was like no delays, no lines, although the airport in DC was uber crowded. I could not figure out how that happened other than the grace of God.
Amen.
And why he would care about my line in the airport.
Because
I don't know.
He cares.
I know.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a great travel day. So I'm glad to be here, friends.
Yeah. And she got to see all the faces because there was no masks.
I know.
And our favorite airline flight attendant is on here with us. So she's like,
hey, Paula.
I know. It does sound like the perfect day. I love that for you.
It was. So I'm just shouting out to the airline industry. Yes. It was a good travel day.
Yay. I know, because they don't get positive shout outs much. Paula can tell you.
Yeah.
Paula could write a whole book on all the not so good
stuff. And the
stuff.
crew was extraordinary. They were so friendly and helpful and awesome and great at their jobs, and it was just fun to watch them do their work.
Do their thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I can't wait to hear when because Paula has not flown yet since the mask mandate, because that was only 2 days ago.
It's a whole new world, sis.
A whole new world.
A whole new old world.
I know, a whole new old world, right?
Old. I don't know. I just confused myself.
Yeah, I think you could say it either way. Old, new world.
Well, everything old is new.
There you go. And and nothing new is under the sun.
Yeah.
So we're really confusing.
I know.
Okay, so today what I ended up titling today's broadcast is Gratitude, Grief, and the Gift of Friendship.
That's a good title.
That's a pretty good title. I did pretty decently.
That's got some good solid keywords there, sis.
Thank you for the one who should know, because Ginger is a writer, an author, a writer. She is the author of, and I couldn't find my book, so here's one of the books that I'm giving to someone. Holy in the Moment. So she's authored a book, probably 1 million blog posts, both on her own blog and on Planting Roots and all over the place, right? You're very blessed to be able to share. Plus you've done podcasts and broadcasts and all the things. She's also a mom, as you heard her state, and she is a Marine spouse. Her Marine is now retired in the great state of Virginia. And that's how we met, is in Okinawa, when she was on a ministry team that was for military women. I mean, anybody could come, but the majority of us that showed up were military women, active, duty, retirees, spouses, that kind of thing. So that's how we met. She was, I can't remember the name of your position. I know you were, you handled like our Bible study.
Yeah, so I was Spiritual Life.
Spiritual Life is what it was titled. So we met because she was training us leaders, which it seemed like that was the first time I met you. So I jumped right in.
I met you at the Bible study training. So I was doing facilitator training for Bible study leaders, which was super, super fun.
Yeah, and you're great at it.
And that's where we met, started to connect. And then a few weeks later, I used to do a lot of skits when I had like people in person to do skits for. Because somehow skits on video like this, it's not quite the same. And I know the skit guys do it really well, but
they do.
It just wasn't working for me to try to do it. online.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but anyway, I asked Larissa if she would do a skit with me called Memory Woman Saves the Day.
And why did I say yes? Why?
And she said yes. And she wore a superhero costume and memorized lines and had a sword and a cape and a mask and was fabulous. And on the airplane, I was going through my files on my computer, kind of doing house cleaning.
Yeah.
And I found those pictures.
No.
Yes, yes.
Oh, wow. So you know what we're going to have to do? We might have to share one.
Yes, yeah. We'll share them on
on
Facebook
the
or
socials,
Instagram or something.
We'll definitely
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
How fun. I love that. Squirrel moment. According to legend, Google, tea came into existence in 2737 BC in China. Thank you, Melanie. I know that I had read it, but I can't find it now, of course, because, scrolling.
Right.
Anyways, so yeah, you were very sweet to offer me that opportunity. And I did it well. And here's the interesting thing, though, because I am an extrovert, and you guys know that. I know.
Light bulb.
Now you know how to interact with me. It's not like I'm super comfortable doing that, because you're being silly,
Right.
you're taking risks, your lines, you may not remember your lines, you may totally screw the whole thing up. And at this point, I didn't know her well, so I didn't know how much grace she was going to show me, and on and on. But it's just so fun. And you guys have heard me talk about Ginger, and what an amazing story of perseverance. Because back then, which was well over, I don't know, now 12, 13 years.
I want to say
longer.
Closer to 15.
Okay, so probably closer to 15 years.
Time is a passing, friends.
It is a passing. Yes, I just had a birthday, so this I know. And you had brought up an idea for a book. And we have so many amazing, fun, and maybe not so fun stories that go along with that. But before Holy in the Moment became a book and was published, you went almost a decade with that on your heart, in your mind, writing towards that. Hey, Sharon, so good to see you. And so I love that part. I don't love that you were, you waited that long, but I love how you persevered, and that we can say, God's faithfulness is right here, but this did not happen overnight.
No. And book 2's not happening overnight either.
Well, there you go. That is a great point.
Which book 2 is actually book 1 that we wanted to do.
Yes. And
I
got to be a part of like what would we call that? So it was called the Quiet Time Guide.
Yeah.
And what do you like when you're the precursor, like the example, but it wasn't not example. The test groups. There we go. And Jana was a part of that as well. Friend. And we did lots of talking in my van. This is when you guys always hear me tell the story about doing community and doing it well. And we used to drive all over the island in my van, because I think I held 8 people. So
and it had air conditioning.
Yeah,
which AC. Was very, very important in Okinawa, Japan.
Yes. And were you in that said van on our way to the British tea shop when I put it into
the ditch? Yes, ma'am. I thought about that 2 days ago, because we saw a ditch like that.
Oh my gosh. So, because it's funny, because I don't know if you heard, but I was talking about the tea place, because it's National Tea Day, right? And so the very last time we went together as a group, several people might have visited afterwards, but we were kind of doing my going away, I think.
Maybe.
So the roads, especially going up into the hills, I'll say hills of Okinawa, were very, very skinny, like really not enough room for 2 cars.
Right.
Side by side, if so very, carefully, right? And so a speeding car, which you never saw in Okinawa, a speeding car coming down this like really small lane was coming at me, and I had to make a choice. And I was like, okay, I got people in the car. Do I stand my ground and let him like basically hit me? Or do I scooch over as far as I thought I could? And I scooched over and ended up in a ditch. Not like, we didn't end up in like turned over upside down, nobody got injured kind of thing. Just enough where I could not get out by myself.
And those ditches, friends, I mean, these are not your just everyday ditches. These are concrete tracks that are about 2 feet wide and about 1.5 feet deep. And they're concrete. It's like, it's a thing. And all the growth from the jungle goes over them, so you can't see that they're there. Do you remember that? You can't
Yes.
see that they're there, but you have to know that they're there because you live there. This is the difference between living someplace and being a tourist someplace. Is you know about the ditches.
Yeah, it was crazy. How funny all that coming
Yeah,
back
I
today
know.
because the
Oh, that was so
national
long
it
ago. Loved
so
it.
long ago.
Great
We were
memories.
super blessed. So part of the reason why I love to have Ginger on, of course, she's just super fun. And not just because she authored a book, but what I think was interesting, and I don't know that we have talked about this when we
Hmm.
were talking
Okay.
about your book back in the day. But isn't it interesting how you wrote a book and included a gratitude chapter
I
in
did.
a book, and you even have said you didn't mean to write a book on anxiety,
Mm-mm.
but there is a lot of information on here if you struggle with anxiety. So we throw that out there to you because I know a lot of people, especially over the last couple of years, have
Hmm.
struggled with anxiety. Now,
Yeah.
you do not have to have struggled with anxiety to enjoy this book. It is
No.
amazing. And you guys know my book has all the post-it notes. I apologize. I don't know where I must have taken it to look at it, and I don't know where it is right now. But anyway, so I was just thinking, how sweet of the Lord that you wrote a chapter on gratitude. Of course, she included me, which is very sweet. I'm actually included in 2 of the chapters, mine and Bill's story in the
Hmm.
gratitude chapter. But then that I became Grateful Chick, because when you knew me, I didn't have the title.
Nope.
So why was it important, since we're talking about gratitude and we're
Yep.
going to talk about grief, and then we're just being
Friendship.
friends, but we're going to talk about friendship as well a little bit more, as we already have. Why was it important for you to include gratitude in a book that was not supposed to be about anxiety, but came out about anxiety and a whole lot of other things?
Well, the main premise of the book is if we choose holiness in
Hmm.
this moment, how will that change the moment?
Hmm.
And, you know, it's about the practical living out of your faith because there's
Yeah.
this disconnect between the head knowledge that we know about Jesus and
Hmm.
about scripture and about living the Christian life. There's this disconnect between that and our heart and the choices that we make in the moment
Yeah.
that trigger our flesh, that
Hmm.
trigger us to feel anxious or trigger us to feel insecure or trigger us to blow our top or trigger us to try to manipulate or control or whatever
Yeah.
your fleshy thing
Right.
is, you know, whatever your go-to strategy that you've learned how to cope and deal with life when the pressure's on or
Yeah.
when things aren't going your way. And so that's kind of the premise, that we can make holy and whole choices. We can make healthy choices because those are all parts of that word
Hmm.
holiness.
Yeah.
We can make those choices in the moment if we're depending on Jesus.
Yes.
If we're relying
Amen.
on him as our source of life, then we
Hmm.
can be patient. We can choose patience. And so it's about making those moment by moment choices. And the books chapters are divided up in the first sections your spiritual life, the second sections your soul life, your thoughts, your emotions, your spiritual disciplines, and the last section is your body life, how
Hmm.
you're actually physically living on this earth in terms of your attitudes and your work and your friendships and your
Right.
relationships.
Right.
And so how could you not include gratitude in a chapter on attitude?
Mm.
Because,
Right. I'm
you know,
looking at it right now.
it's our attitude that derails us so often
Yeah.
when the frustrating thing happens or when the criticism comes or
Yeah.
when somebody is upset with you or when things don't work out. It's the attitude that makes a difference as to whether or not we're going to choose to trust God in that moment and
Hmm.
choose to rely on Christ to express himself as wholeness and holiness and godliness in that moment, or whether or not we're going to default to the old wired pathways that are so familiar and so they just are there
Hmm.
to, like for
They're
me, to go to anxiety, to go to insecurity, to go to,
right.
oh my gosh, if I could tell y'all how many pity parties I'd had in my life,
Right.
you'd think I was like the pity party queen. Well,
Right.
that's a flesh trait. That's a,
Right.
a way I've learned to like cope with life apart from Christ. And that's what your flesh is really. And so how could you not include gratitude in a chapter on attitude? And how
Yeah.
could you not include this one story
You were so, it's so
when
sweet, and
you've walked
it's,
it with her?
yeah.
When you've
Yeah.
seen it in the heartbreak,
Mm.
when you've seen it in the grief and in the fear, you
Hmm.
know, getting a cancer diagnosis is one of the real, top scary moments in life.
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
not the top scary, but it's up there in the top 5.
Yeah.
And so watching you and Bill navigate that,
Mhm.
choosing so intentionally to be grateful, to choose to shift your attitude to how God is faithful and what all the blessings you had in your life, despite the problem.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, part of that is learning to practice the presence of God
Yes.
rather than the persistence of our problems.
Mm. Wow, that is so good. So this is the chapter 12. It starts on page 153. I know we've got a lot of people on here who actually already have your book. And then my portion, if somebody wanted to read it, I think it's this one, yep, is under gratitude and contentment are the foundations of joy. And I've talked a lot about how gratitude has taught me personally about being content. And as a Marine spouse, that's very important because we had to learn to be content in Okinawa, Japan, which we always talk about all the great parts. And it was great. I know for me personally, I would go back in a heartbeat. I went back and I spent my 50th birthday on purpose. Paula was a part of that, right? So I turned 30, turned 40, and I turned 50 in Okinawa, Japan. We loved it. The people were amazing. I mean, we could just sing its praises 100 times over, but that doesn't mean there weren't some challenges to get there if you were traveling with a pet, which I was at the time. If once you're there, the language barrier, the driving on what I call the wrong side of the road, watching out for these ditches that we do not have in the States like that. And so many other things. I paid my rent, which was the equivalent of over $3,000 a month in cash. So I literally had wads of cash, which of course in the United States, we don't carry around wads of cash unless like maybe you have a bodyguard and you're going to the bank, right?
But I was go in person, right?
We had to go in person. And who pays your electricity bill at a 7-Eleven? It wasn't called that. It was called Lawson's or several. Who buys sushi at the Family Mart? I mean, there's so many challenges. So I just want to be honest that though it was amazing, I'd go back in a heartbeat. There were challenges. And yet we all learned to be content, to embrace it because we knew it was the chance of a lifetime.
Yeah.
But gratitude definitely leads to that. And so, anything else on that, like gratitude and contentment or gratitude in the book? Because that just, the whole chapter is amazing.
No, not really.
Okay.
I think that it's there for folks to read.
Mhm.
So get the book,
Mhm.
friends.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we'll go back in the comments and put a book link for you.
Yeah.
But
And it makes a great gift because I'm giving this to a friend who asked me the other day. She sent me a text. She goes, "Do you have any books on positive thinking?" And I'm like,
Oh,
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I just didn't have one in the moment because I didn't
Right.
have any extras because I've either given them all away or sold them or whatever.
Yeah.
I used
You could order them by the 10 pack
Uh-huh.
and have them for gifts and friends and little ministry moments like somebody's having a bad day. Your friend.
Yes, ministry moments. I love that.
This one's also in the friendship chapter because how could you not include her attitude and her stories and her wisdom about friendship in a chapter on friendship when your BFF is like the queen of girlfriend.
So did you come up with Queen of Girlfriend or did Brenda? I couldn't remember which one of you. Okay, it was you.
Well,
and she
I don't know. Brenda may have said things like that, but I did a blog post years ago called "The Gift of Girlfriend."
Okay,
and it was about you and me and Jenny, and
it's still up, right?
In Hawaii. Yeah,
You guys should go and check that out because that was
gingerharrington.com/gift-of-girlfriend or have you got the gift of girlfriend?
I'll reshare it.
Yeah,
reshare it.
Yeah.
I'll
it's got pictures of us and Jenny like 15 years ago.
Yes,
or 10 years. So 2011.
The fun thing is, on that trip, Hawaii. So we had the blessing of someone being willing to bring Ginger and pay to have her come and speak. And as for our little women's retreat, I'll call it not little women's, a women's retreat. And then she got to spend the whole week in Hawaii with Jenny and I. But back in the day when I had hair this color before COVID, before I let it grow
and
out.
It was this length and kind of styled.
Yeah, we were twins. Yeah, we had somebody in Monterey, California ask, "Are you guys twins?" And we just cracked up because it's such a sweet compliment.
We're sisters of the heart.
Yeah, absolutely. So so fun to be included on the friendship chapter. So that's chapter 15, page 191. Well, I may not be on that particular page, but that's moments to be a good friend.
Right. And two other things about the book before we move on just into gratitude.
Yeah.
One, on my website at gingerharrington.com/ Holy in the Moment book. About 2/3 of the way down, you can get a free book discussion guide or journal guide.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful resource to use for a group if you're going to do a book club or just with personal journaling as you process the things in the book, because there's so much there to process. It's not the kind of book where you just read and go, oh, that was nice.
No.
Like there's just this is what I call a legacy book, where you're pouring in all of the lessons and the ways that you've learned of walking with God in hard moments over decades. And it's all in one book. Like you guys can read that in a couple of hours. I had to live it for 3 decades.
And then write it for however long it took.
Thing. So, but that free resource is on the book page on my website.
I love that.
And then for my subscribers, who get my newsletter, I have a subscriber library that has all kinds of fun resources in it. And one of them is a gratitude workbook.
Yes, this is good. I have it.
It's a great it's a great side-by-side with Larissa's project Grateful.
Yeah.
And it's also a great way to just dig in to practicing gratitude in a way that's, it's kind of short. It doesn't take too long to go through it. It's designed to do it for a month. And so that's kind of a fun thing. So hop over to gingerharrington.com, sign up on every sidebar, every place. There's a place to sign up for the newsletter. And then just know in the subscriber library, there is that resource, and we can post that in the links after this as well. But so those are some things that can be really helpful and practical, because like I said, when I first started running my mouth, is that we have this disconnect between our shoulda, woulda, coulda, what we know, and how we respond, how we feel, how we act, how we choose in the moment. And friends, we need practical resources that help us to get from our head to our heart and then back out through our life in a way where we're walking in the freedom of who God created us to be.
Oh, that freedom word.
Oh, girl, that will preach, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So
we got to talk about grief.
We do have to
talk
about
grief. We need to talk about grief.
So, and I wanted to go here, and of course, I always ask, Ginger ahead of time, though we both have been friends for so long and have done ministry together and done, we've probably done the most broadcasts together out of all my people, because she's willing, for one.
I love it.
But you guys who have been around for a while, you have heard me talk about gratitude and grief. And I did write, Project Grateful, as Ginger said, and I co-collaborated with Kelly Bangs through Illustrated Faith. And this is what my version of this looks like. And it all hinges, this entire, year-long adventure hinges on the truth that I share, that gratitude changes everything. And so even, in times of grief. And so Ginger has unfortunately suffered a great loss in the last 6 months. And so I had asked her if she would be willing to share, because I want you to hear from another person's perspective. So I don't know how you want to go about it, but it was your sister, Aurelia. Did I say
Aurelia.
Aurelia. Okay,
Aurelia.
I almost get it every time. And so tell us a little bit about her story, because we love to honor people and your story together, and then how gratitude helped you, because you ended up being I don't know if we would call it a full-time caregiver, but you were knee deep in this thing. You weren't just you weren't just standing on the sidelines.
Well, she's my little sis, 3 years younger than me. Okay. And she was born legally blind. Okay. So she could see, but not correctable to 20/20, and very light sensitive. Okay. So, it was difficult for her to see faces across the room, or if she was reading a book, she was close up.
Yeah.
And, she just learned to persevere in life, and she was a very strong person. And she, at one point in time when she was young, people told her she'd never work full time, and she was an English major. And she started working at UT Hospital when she was in high school part-time, and then went full-time when she graduated. And she ended up overseeing all of the pharmacy contracts, all of the drug budgets and contracts for UT Hospital and its multiple satellite
Wow.
outpatient pharmacies,
Wow.
and huge
Talk
job for
about, yeah.
someone who has to work 3 inches away from a computer screen. And so anyway, she accomplished so much.
Hmm.
But last January, she just said, "Hey, I have this weird weakness happening, and so I'm going to go to the gym. I've obviously not been working out enough." And so she was trying to work out and get some strength back, and she just got weaker and weaker, and it impacted her left leg, and they thought it was Bell's palsy. And all this time I'm concerned about her, but it's not entering into either one of our minds that she has a terminal motor neuron disease.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so that kind of became clear in June,
Hmm.
which was so devastating to think about
Hmm.
and begin to navigate with her. She lived in Knoxville. I lived near DC. So that's not, it's not next door, friends.
Yeah.
It was an 8-hour
Yeah.
drive.
Yeah. And
And
you've done it a lot.
yeah, yeah. So over the summer, it continued to progress, and they diagnosed it with a name in August as ALS,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
which we often know as Lou Gehrig's disease,
Hmm.
which is, it's just a horrible, horrible disease.
Yeah.
And it is devastating when someone you love gets a
Hmm.
diagnosis that is
Hmm.
terminal,
Hmm.
and one where they are going to suffer great loss and
Hmm.
just suffer physically,
Yeah.
which always brings mental and emotional and oftentimes spiritual suffering
Hmm.
as
Yeah.
well. And just, just the heaviness in your heart of knowing that someone that you love, that's what is in their path,
Right.
and how to walk that with them well, without getting sucked under the, like, grief can be like a tidal wave,
Yes.
and it can be like an undercurrent, and it
Hmm.
can be like a trickly brook that's just constantly there, and it can be all of those things at once, and it can be, shift. It's like a
Hmm.
shift changer or
Hmm.
something.
Yeah.
One day you're blown away with it, and the other day you're kind of just walking by that bubbling brook. It's just there in the background.
Hmm.
And so that was very hard. And then in August, I started going several weeks at a time and helping her with her care. And I didn't know how to care for someone. I did not
Yeah.
know
We
how to
don't.
lift. Like, I
Yeah.
physically had to lift her because she was losing strength so quickly. And
Yeah.
it was constant problem solving. Like, okay, how do we get you in the car today?
Hmm.
Because what worked yesterday, you don't have that same strength today. And it was shifting and changing so fast. And
Yeah.
and friends, she was extraordinary.
Mm.
She handled it so well. And of course,
Yeah.
she had her fall apart moments and her
Yeah.
emotional moments, but she did so well. And one of the things that I discovered personally, I'd seen it in you and Bill,
Hmm.
but I discovered it personally, that there is an art of dying well.
Mm.
And that is such a hard
Yeah.
thing to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to talk about, and an even harder thing to experience. And in our brains, we all want to be able to do that well if
Hmm.
we
Yeah.
stop to think about it.
Yeah.
But the challenges, the emotional and physical and financial and relationships, every
Yeah.
area of life goes
Yeah.
into full challenge mode when a devastating terminal disease happens,
Yeah.
or a great financial crisis, or a marriage implodes, or just trauma and tragedy comes in a
Hmm.
variety of forms.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about today doesn't necessarily have to be narrowly focused on grieving a loved one,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
there's
that's such
all
a good point.
kinds of
Yeah.
grief.
Yeah.
And learning to grief is a part of life. And if you think about, I've not counted it, but if you think about how many of the Psalms are laments,
Oh,
how
yes.
many
Good
of
point.
them are
Hmm.
laments? And that's because grief is a part of life, and
Hmm.
we are emotional creatures,
Hmm.
and our emotions can be overwhelming, and grief can set us up to really struggle with our faith.
Hmm. Yeah.
And there are moments in the grief, in traumatic and difficult and suffering situations, where the enemy comes in where we're weak and wants to to rob you of your faith, wants to rob you. God's not really there. A good God wouldn't let this happen to you. You
Right.
can't feel his presence. He must not be there. And if your faith is not steadfast, if you don't know the truth and haven't discovered a practical way of walking it out moment by moment, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard. I'm not saying there's keys to make it easy, because there's not. There's no easy. No easy.
Yeah.
When someone's dying, when someone has a disease that's robbing them of the ability to move.
Yeah. And they've been
Or
independent. She was
Yeah.
single and
she
lived
was
on
single,
her own.
lived by herself.
Yeah, so she had been
Yeah.
independent for
Yeah.
a really long time.
And so back to Aurelia's story. So I'm back and forth, and she had the most extraordinary amount of community.
Mm.
And
We
you
love to
know,
talk about
because
too.
she was very involved in her work, because it was a very stressful, very time-consuming job, and she was single where most of her friends were married, her social schedule didn't necessarily line up to do a lot of things together, and that oftentimes made her feel very isolated and alone, which broke my heart.
Yeah.
But you can't fix other people's lives, right?
Yeah.
You love them in the challenges that they face.
Yeah.
You do what you can to help and support, but you can't change someone else's situation.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes in the past, she struggled feeling like she really didn't have good friends.
Yeah.
And as soon as she started not being able to be mobile very well and started struggling, long before she had a diagnosis, she had friends that were there every day. Friends who came and fed her 6 cats morning and evening, and scooped litter boxes and prepared meals and helped with housework. Friends that took her to doctor's appointments. Then as she progressed, friends who helped her get dressed and take care of your body needs, which, when you're sick, you don't stop having to go to the bathroom. And
Yes, that's a whole
that's a whole nother level of friendship.
Oh yes.
Right? It was extraordinary.
Oh,
Extraordinary
wow.
of how many people gave of themselves to walk that path of grief and loss and challenge with her.
Yeah.
And God did a miracle.
Right.
In that, we pray for miraculous healing like nobody's business.
Yes. Yes.
And that was part of the miraculous healing, because I feel like God was healing that sense of loneliness and isolation that she had often struggled with, even though it was a situation none of us would choose.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's why it happened, but God has a tremendous way of bringing blessings in the midst of our challenges, in the midst of our grief.
Yeah.
So,
and that's something you can be grateful for sure.
Yes.
I mean, you got to experience that firsthand.
Yeah. And I'll come back to that, but let me just finish the timeline story for her. So she continued to get weaker and weaker, and she actually passed away on her anniversary, the day before Thanksgiving. And the timeline for that disease is 2 to 5 years, and she just lasted several months. And as hard as that was, it was devastating. It was so hard, and it just felt like her life had just been pulled out from under the rug for her. But as hard as that was, it was a blessing. It was a brutal blessing, but she was to the point where she would have needed to be in full-time nursing care, and she was getting to the point where it was getting difficult to talk and to be entombed in your body, with your brain still very, very sharp, and not be able to move or to speak. That I think was more terrifying to her than the thought of dying. And so the Lord spared her from that, and I'm grateful for that. I truly, truly am. I miss her every day. I grieve her loss.
Yeah, because you guys were close. Like you had traditions, and you you guys, even with the distance between you were still close. So that's not that matters in one sense, but it's a great loss, because you guys were close. It wasn't like you were not close and then all of a sudden she got sick.
And I grieve what happened to her. I grieve that she had to go through that. And there's still moments, even though it's been 5 months, there's still days I wake up and I go, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that's real. But it is real. And I'm grateful to know that she was a believer. I'm
Mhm.
grateful to know that her faith was in Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to know that she's with the Lord. I'm
Yeah.
grateful
Amen.
to know. I'm grateful to know that for the first time she can see in color.
Wow.
Now, she was part of her legal blindness was light sensitivity
Mhm.
and color blindness,
Oh,
and
wow.
just that I thought of when opening
Yeah.
your eyes in heaven, and I'm not sure how all of
Yeah.
that
Works, right?
works, but to to know what it would be like to see color for the first time in
Yeah.
all of its fullness, not just just not just the color that we have here on earth, because
Mhm.
friends, that anything that we have here on earth that is good, it's a shadow of what's in heaven. So anyway, it comforts me,
Yeah. Yeah.
when you can shift from being so focused on the problem that you get
Mhm.
sucked into the wave of grief, and it takes you into places of doubt, it takes you
Mhm.
into places of anger and things like
Mhm.
that, and you stay there.
Yeah.
Like, we're all going to go those places
Yeah.
because it's part of the grieving process,
Yeah.
but they can be camping out places too.
Mhm.
But when you're able to move past, move beyond, or move through
Mhm.
those hard places in the grieving journey and have those moments of seeing the blessings, moments of recognizing God's goodness in the
Mhm.
midst of such hard things,
Yeah.
it helps tremendously. It
Yeah.
it helps, and it helps you to hang on to faith in the hard. It helps you to
Mhm.
stay holy in the hard.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
gratitude is so deeply important, and I'm
Yeah.
grateful. I'm grateful for the friendship that
Mhm.
I have had with you, and
Mm.
being able to learn and grow through watching your journey
Mm.
with gratitude in difficult circumstances and in grief and loss.
Yeah.
Because friends, we never realize how our lives are impacting. We're the Apostle Paul says our lives are a living letter,
Mhm. Oh, I
right?
love that
And
one.
people
Yeah.
are watching,
Mhm.
people are listening, not like Big Brother,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
they're observing how
Yeah.
you live out your faith,
Mhm.
good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah, we can,
And
yeah.
but God used that to train and equip and prepare
Mm. Mhm.
me. And I know that He's done that for you, friends, as you
Yeah.
have been part of this gratitude journey with
Mhm.
Larissa, and learning to choose gratitude moment by moment,
Mhm.
regardless of the situation.
'Cause
And
it's a choice.
yes,
It's not a feeling. It kinda
right.
goes along with your quote that I shared last night about belief.
Hmm.
Believing is not a feeling. Believing in God is not a
It's not an
feeling. It
emotion.
is, yeah, I'm sorry, it's not an emotion. It is a choice. And
And it's a
that's the same with
decision.
gratitude. And I think you probably cultivated and processed gratitude without maybe using the words, just from all the conversations I've had with you, because a couple of your kids were able to go with you on some of those long 8-hour journeys.
Yeah.
And you might have had to have a moment and get pulled over in one of those journeys, and much
Yeah.
grace was shown
Yeah.
you, and having a supportive husband. So I think
Oh, I'm
you
grateful for that
you
too.
were cultivating it maybe without even saying it.
Mhm.
And then, because you used to always tell me, gosh, I'm so grateful for Aurelia's. Did I say it right? No.
Aurelia.
Aurelia's friends. I remember you hearing
Mhm.
about that. And Ginger and her family are not cat people, and now they're cat people.
I
They
know I
fell
have
in
two
love
of
with
her
her
cats.
cats,
Yeah.
and they've
I'm grateful for that.
brought them home with them. So yeah, so there's a way to do. It's not either or, right?
No.
It's and both.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And one of the scriptures, and we've had several broadcasts on this
Mhm.
passage last time I was here last April, on Philippians 4, 6, and 7. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
get hair in your
I
teeth.
know.
Um,
It's just
but
there.
be anxious for nothing,
Nothing.
but
Mhm.
in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving,
Mm,
let your requests be made known to God.
yeah.
And then it talks about how the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension,
Mm,
will guard your heart
mhm,
and your mind in Christ Jesus.
mm,
And in that passage, the Apostle Paul gives us one of the keys for living well,
Mm.
for dying well, for
Mhm.
navigating grief well, navigating trauma, navigating the good and the hard,
Mhm.
the beautiful and the broken pieces
Mhm.
of life.
Yeah.
And that is choosing to shift your attention from your feelings
Mhm.
to your faith in a practical way.
Mhm.
And one of those practical ways that we do that is, one, we share our supplications, we
Mhm.
give our requests to God,
Mhm.
we entrust the needs of our heart and the situations in our life to God, we pray about them, but we do it with thanksgiving. And embedded in that, I'm not going to say it's a formula,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is a pattern for living well,
Mhm. Yeah.
regardless of the
Wow.
situation.
Yeah.
And in that is the intrinsic acknowledgement that life holds both blessing and brokenness.
Mhm.
And it's both, it's not
Mhm.
either or.
Yeah.
We're going to have times that make us anxious, we're
Mhm.
going to have times of grief and loss.
Mhm.
And we navigate that by choosing not to define our faith by our feelings, not
Mhm.
to allow our feelings to you know run us totally off the road and
Right.
keep us there.
Yeah.
And we do that moment by moment by choosing to pray and to trust,
Mm.
choosing to pray and to thank. And one of the things that thankfulness does is it shifts our attention back onto God,
Mm.
to
Yep.
helps us to practice the presence of God rather than the
Mhm.
persistence of our problems.
Yeah.
And it reminds us, one, that we're not alone, because shortly before, just like 2 verses before, Philippians 4, 6, and 7, it talks about how Jesus is near.
Such a
Okay.
good point.
So it reminds us that we're not alone, that Jesus is near
Yeah.
in the good and the bad. And it reminds us of the blessings. It opens our eyes to the good things and the ways that God is doing good things in the midst of hard things. And it enables us to be able to appreciate rather than overlook the good things. And that is strengthening.
It
It's
is.
strengthening to our faith. But if you think about what's happening in your brain, actually, in the neuroplasticity
Yeah.
of your brain, one of the things that it's doing is actually rewiring your brain pathways.
Yeah.
And those brain pathways can either take you into a major funk
Yeah.
and keep you there,
Yep.
struggling with anxiety, depression, doubt, blame shifting, whatever, like
Yeah. Whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
whatever your struggle of the day is, you know, or it can rewire you to transforming your
Mhm.
mind.
Mhm.
Thinking, Romans 12, talking about not being conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Right.
One of the ways that we renew our mind is choosing gratitude, even when we're anxious.
Yeah.
And I just love the way Paul doesn't sugarcoat. He doesn't say, just be happy, friends.
I know. No, he doesn't.
Because in hard things, you're not just happy.
Yeah.
And there's a
Yeah.
difference between happy and holy. There's a
That's a whole
difference.
nother broadcast.
Now, sometimes happy isn't part of holy. It truly, truly is.
Yeah.
But sometimes life is hard.
Mm.
And sometimes we lose people we love. And sometimes bad things happen
to good people.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's part of living. And that's what Paul is acknowledging in that passage. And he's teaching us, and it goes on, Philippians 4:8 talks about what we need to be thinking about. Whatever's good and
Right,
praiseworthy
true,
and excellent
praiseworthy,
and
yep.
true. And I
Think
used
on
to
these
have that.
things.
Yeah, I used to have that completely memorized. Now it's just, kind of loosey goosey in the
Bits,
brain.
yeah.
But anyway, that is so practical.
Yeah.
That is so practical. And when I lost my mother to lung cancer, when we lived in Okinawa and I couldn't be there, you know, gratitude gave me strength.
Yeah.
It helped. Here's another thing that I think it does is grief is a heavy, heavy burden.
Yeah.
Our emotions can be so overwhelming when and it kind of takes our vision and just it's like this is all we can see, this is all we can feel.
That's a good point.
Sometimes our brains shut down. Like when Aurelia first passed, I could not like read 2 sentences and pay attention to like my mind and my emotions were on such overload and so exhausted
Yeah.
that I was just, in that pit of
Yeah.
grief.
Yeah.
Um, and you are going to have those times, but choosing gratitude and
Mhm.
the door that opens in your brain to
So
rewire
good.
and
Yeah.
transform your thinking, which
Yeah.
changes how you interpret what's happening, which changes what you're thinking about, what you're believing, what you're feeling,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't change the situation. And I think that's one of the things that we sometimes think.
Mhm.
Okay, if I do the right spiritual thing,
Mhm.
it's going to change the situation.
Yeah.
No,
No.
doing the right spiritual thing or the healthy and whole spiritual thing
Right.
enables us to respond well, to live
Yeah.
in the care and keeping of Christ in the situation.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I think that's about
Yeah, that's yeah, we jam-packed a lot, for sure, which is what's so fun. Hey, Dana. Hey, everybody. So glad that you are joining us. And this is my friend Ginger Harrington, author of Holy in the Moment, where there is a gratitude chapter. And so that's why I titled this Gratitude, Grief, and the Gift of Friendship, because we have been friends for well over 15
Yeah.
plus years, and just have the blessing of doing both the hard and the fun
Yeah.
things. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us. Ginger and I'll both go back and type in website
Yeah.
and links to resources, because she definitely has amazing resources both for grief. Sorry, not grief. I mean, you probably will, but she's still in that. Both on gratitude and then on Holy in the Moment, that guide that she mentioned, along with a bunch of other free resources when you
Hmm.
sign up for the newsletter. And she's got a
Yeah.
beautiful site, you guys, and her stuff. I just got done doing the 40 days of Lent with her, and I mean, it just was amazing. And so go over and check out some of that stuff. And I posted last night that quote that I just kind of butchered a little bit, but it's your quote and her name's all over it, so you guys will know.
Yeah.
But just that reminder that we choose gratitude. Oh, and perfect timing, because my
Right.
my iPad is getting ready to die.
So would love to see you guys at gingerharrington.com. Love to stay connected with you through my email list. Gives you access to that subscriber library. I want to
Yeah.
highlight two other resources in that. One is 50 scriptures and tips, strategies for
Ooh.
overcoming negative thinking. And that totally ties
Yes.
into what we're talking about
Mhm.
today. And
Mhm.
the other one is Flourish, an emotional health workbook. And so if you are struggling with your emotions and your emotions are impacting your faith, sign up for the newsletter, get that little workbook, and put your pen and paper, start filling out the little
Mhm.
charts, and
Yeah.
work through some of those things. It will help you learn to be able to choose gratitude, learn to
Mhm.
choose in the moment to trust God with what's happening rather than to let your emotions define your faith, define your
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
And
Good.
such practical thing. That's my heart, is to
Mhm.
provide people with practical resources to deepen your faith and to thrive in your freedom in Christ, to be able to live out of who you are rather than
Yeah.
how you feel.
Oh, that is so good. That'll preach. So I'm going to let you close us, because we are going to close and pray that you have been encouraged. And then we are heading out to lunch with a couple
Woohoo!
friends, and then we will be back, Lord willing, Monday. Don't know what the topic will be, but you guys know it's heart talk. So whatever the
Yeah.
Lord has on our heart over the weekend, we will come back and share. And maybe there'll be a story on Instagram, or there'll be,
Hmm.
we really should consider doing a reel together. But I do not have a plan for that. But I might be able to come up with one. But anyways, so Ginger, would you do the honors of just closing us out in prayer, please?
Yes. Father, thank you so
Thank
much
you, God.
for
You
all
are
of
good.
the heart and the story and the
Mm.
hurt and the
Yes.
wisdom that has you've been able to come out of our mouths today. I pray for
Yes.
everyone who is
Mm.
watching this broadcast, who's struggling with grief,
Yes.
who's struggling with a situation that makes them struggle with gratitude, Father. And I pray
Yes.
that some of the truths that we've talked about, Lord, I pray that you would work those into their lives and show them how joy and gratitude um, are foundational to our
Mhm.
faith, and show
Yes.
them how. Because we could talk about it
Yes.
all day
Mhm.
long, but if you don't move in us, it's not going to happen.
Yes.
So, Lord, we just entrust ourselves to
Yes.
you. We
Yes.
entrust all
Mhm.
of our listeners and
Mm.
readers to you.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
pray that it would please you to manifest yourself
Mm.
as peace and
Mm.
comfort and grace and strength
Yes.
and
Yes.
hope in the midst of hard things.
Yes.
Father, teach us how to live
Mm.
holy in the hard. In
Yes.
Jesus' name,
Yes.
amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. So first we're going to say goodbye to our Facebook friends.
Bye, Facebook friends.
We love you guys. See you soon. Okay. And then I never know if it's recording. So it could still be recording. There's no, oh, there we go. And that has ended. And then now we will say goodbye. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Bye, you guys.
Bye,
we love
friends.
you. Or not. It's not what. Oh, hello. I'm trying to.
That's the difference between working with an iPad